Well, hey, Lashpreneurs. We're going to talk about answering the questions, the most common questions I get over Instagram DMs. And how do I, as a business coach, know what you should be doing in your business? Well, that's the thing. There are thousands of people who've DM'd me over the years. How do I know what advice to give them? Well, for the most part, growing a business is fairly simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's fairly simple. So typically, especially when I'm working with our mastermind students or our Lashpreneur Society students, I'll get a question like, should I hire? Should I take this training? Should I move into this location? Can you really make six figures? I get a lot of these common questions asking me as if I'm some genie in a lamp you rub and I give you your magic 3 wishes. Well, how does a stranger who knows nothing about maybe you or your business help advise you to get to your goals? Well, first and foremost, myself, and I guess I'm just speaking for me as a business coach, but I ask you what your goals are. Why do any of that? Why hire? Why move locations? Why, pay for ads for marketing? Why hire a social media agency? Why do anything? Right? And so we get clear on what it is that we're trying to do. Now, generally speaking, I would say for the most part, those who ask that question want to make more money. So we simplify it. How do we make more money? Then I can look at whatever the question is that's being asked and evaluate, is that going to get you closer to making more money or further away? Now, I've been doing this for 7 years now, so I can see patterns of what has worked to get people more money. And I usually draw on that experience to help guide people in the right direction versus, something that I don't think is going to make the money, but I never tell somebody don't do something, just maybe look at it from this perspective. So if you want to make more money in your business, which is generally where most of these questions are coming from, how do I make more? Or how do I work less and still make the same? Then we have some variables to compare the question to for the result that we're wanting. And most of the time, the question that's being asked is not a great question. Should I hire? I don't know. Should you? If you want to make more money, well, yes, you could hire to make more money. However, chances are most people who hire don't end up making more money, or they're doing it in a way that actually costs them more. Sometimes, should I be posting consistently on social media? Well, that depends. Does social media work for your business right now? Is it something that you enjoy and that you want to pour yourself into? Most of the time it's like, no, I hate social media. It's so toxic. I'm like, well, let's find a different way to get you to your result of making more money without something that you're forcing yourself to do. Now, there's plenty of ways to market your business. There's hundreds of ways to market your business. So which way is the best? I like the easiest way. I like the one that is the easiest, most simplest to implement consistently and ongoing, because if it's not easy to do and you're not doing it consistently, then you're not going to have the growth. You're not going to be able to pay yourself more. So all of that to say is myself as a business coach and what I train my coaches on is data-based decision making. And that's where having something like a coach can really help pull you out of the chaos that kind of can become your brain, the maze of confusion that sometimes running a business has you in, looking at what everybody else is doing, thinking I should be doing this or I should be doing, you're shooting all over yourself. And so we look to the data to help inform us what the business needs. Oftentimes that's looking at your sales, but not just your sales. Most people get so hyper-focused on sales, they actually forget to look at all of the other data in the business, like your expenses. Oftentimes you can't grow your sales. A lot of you get fully booked, right? You have no more room in the day. Those that are working more than 5 days a week, more than maybe 6 or 7 hours a day, you're looking too much at sales and less on expenses. You can actually be much more choosy with your clientele and increase your price point without working more if you just lowered your expenses or you lowered your schedule so that you weren't working as much but raised your prices. So it's like a supply and a demand kind of a thing. So oftentimes we look to the data to figure out where's the easiest opportunity for you to make more. When it comes to knowing your numbers, it's not complicated. It is just something that you likely haven't learned. And there's no fault to that. Right? In beauty school, they teach you how to do basically a skill, maybe a couple of skills to get your license. That's all they care about in beauty school. I'll share the story of, I actually went to beauty school because this particular beauty school had business trainings in it. And I had already gone to college, got my business management degree, worked in corporate sales, marketing, new business development for a couple of years. Had a miscarriage, decided I wanted to go to something completely off my traditional career path and go to beauty school. And the one I chose had a business training to it. So I thought, cool, I can learn how to do the business side of beauty. Well, the first day of our business class was about 2 weeks into beauty school starting. And it was the massage teacher who I hadn't known. I was becoming an esthetician, never met the guy, who was training in the business curriculum. So we're all sitting in the class. There's probably 150 of us in there. And he starts to talk about getting a credit card to accrue, to spend money on a credit card to build up credit. And, at this time, I think I was like 27 when I was in beauty school, but I was mainly in a room of like 18 to 20-year-olds. And I was like, this dude is giving free reign to a bunch of 18-year-olds to go get a credit card and just spend. And I was very heavy on the Dave Ramsey path of like having no debt. The only debt I had at the time was my house. Like I was very much like, don't get debt. And so I had asked a question to him. I said, do you think it's wise to tell a room of, younger girls that they should just go get a credit card and not really talk about the long-term consequences of the behavior of getting a credit card but not paying it off every month? Because he had completely missed that part of it, that yes, you can build up credit. Why? So you can go get a business loan, I think was his point. But I'm like, you're giving them free reign to just go spend whatever, but they may not have the knowledge on making sure that you're not spending more than you have, that you're basically just using it instead of a debit card, but you're paying it off as you're spending. Like he was just being a little loosey-goosey in his advice, yet they are taking it as authority. Like, cool, if I want to have a business, I should go get a credit card and I should just start spending money on it so I can get good credit so I can then go get more debt through a loan. So he didn't like me asking that. He went back to the curriculum and I raised my hand again. I was being very respectful about it. And I said, I actually really disagree that this is not a good advice. And I didn't know much about like running a business at that time. I had only worked in corporations and new business development. I said, I don't think that's the easiest way to run a business. I really think that you're giving bad advice and I'm a little concerned about it. And, I think everybody at that point was getting kind of annoyed with me. So I just shut up. But I just remember thinking like, this can't be what business training is telling people to go get a credit card and accrue credit. Like there's so much more to running a business and even how pay structures work in our industry and how, supply costs and like, where do you get supplies and how do you get a lease and what do you need to know about a commercial lease? And I found out 2 days later that the massage teacher had quit. And so we had no more business training in my beauty school that I solely signed up for because they had business curriculum. So everything else that I've learned in the beauty industry is by trial and error, is by personal experience, and then also by coaching hundreds of people across the globe on how to grow businesses. So when I say making data-based decision making is the easiest way to increase your take-home pay, to understand what your business needs, and then any resistance you have to whatever the business is saying that needs to happen is the work that you need to be doing between the ears. Why? Because you are the biggest obstacle to the growth of your business. That's one of the cool things and also the most paralyzing things about being a business owner is that you are the one that is responsible for the results. Every result you have in your business, even when you have a team and they're just kind of, you're not loving the team or they're gossipy or they're toxic, it is all a reflection of how you've run the business and the decisions you've made. Which is great when business is going well and things are growing and you're, having success and you're making lots of money. It's also really paralyzing and really heavy if you have a lot of problems in the business or you're not paying yourself well or things are just declining and numbers are declining and you don't know how to get out of that. It is not an unsolvable problem. In fact, I would say there hasn't been a problem that somebody has presented in a DM or in our programs that I haven't had or helped them figure out a solution towards. Because again, business is simple. The reason it's not easy and the reason why most people in the world don't run a business is because it requires a very different version of you to be able to have the level of success that you're wanting. And that's because you have to be willing to do the work to change the beliefs that got you into the problems in the first place so that you don't keep repeating them. And the easiest way that I have found to take the emotion out of business, to really focus in and separate the business and the business growth from who I am as a person and the way that I view myself and, my ideals of success and all that is looking at the data. is looking at our sales numbers, our expenses, our profit margins, knowing where the opportunities are to either increase sales or decrease expenses so that I can have consistent and stable and even growing pay as the owner of the business, so that I have enough money to know what happens to this number when I take a training, right? If I take a training, that is increasing my operating expenses, right? Because that money's going to come from the business. Well, how am I going to get a return on that investment into that training? Most people don't think about that. They don't think that way when they think about investing into a training. You should only be taking trainings that are going to get you a return on investment, or ROI. How do you determine that? Well, some of it's a little bit of a science, some of it's a little bit of a guess, but let's just say you spend $1,000 on a new lash training. Well, let's say you're going, like, you only know classic and you're going to take a volume lash course and it's $1,000 for a 3-day training. Well, how long is it going to take for you to be able to get a return on that $1,000 so that it actually starts to make you more money? Because if you're investing in things that aren't going to make you more money or aren't going to help you grow the business, then what are we doing? Why are we doing it? So if you look at, okay, $1,000, the easiest way is to equate it into how many clients you would need. So if you're charging, again, I'm going to try and keep the math super simple. Let's say you're charging $50 for a classic fill, and you would charge $100 for a volume fill. Let's say you charge $100 for a classic full set and you charge $200 for a volume full set. Well, you're looking at basically a 100% increase in your sales to happen for you to grow. I'm overcomplicating. Let's simple it out. If you have to pay $1,000 for a volume class and you can charge $100 more per full set, how many full sets do you need to cover the cost of the class? We said $200 for the full set for the volume full set. Okay, so you need 5 full set clients to cover the cost of that class, to get a return on it, to break even on your investment. Well, how long would it take you from the time of the class to get those 5 full sets? That's really the better question to ask. Not, should I take this training? It's, well, where is the return on investment on a training? If you know you want to take a training, if you know you want to invest in your continuing education, look at, it's not, can you afford it? It's how can you afford it? If it's a hell yes, it's how can you afford it? So if you look at something like a volume training and you know it costs this much, work backwards from that goal to know how many clients you need at whatever price point to at least cover the investment of what you're going to learn inside of that program. Now, we can't go, well, okay, yes, it's a volume class and it's $1,000. So if I do 2 permanent makeup clients at $500 a pop, I've got it covered. Well, sure, you could look at it that way, but you're not actually getting the return on the training itself. You're finding a way, right? You're getting scrappy with how you're going to grow your business. But I want to know that that training or that course or that continuing education that you're investing in is actually working to grow your sales and grow your business. Otherwise, we need to have a different conversation, because maybe it's not the right time, right? If you're already fully booked, probably not the time to invest in learning how to do social media marketing, because you don't have anywhere to put all these new clients that you're spending all this time, energy, and money on in growing your Instagram following, right? It's probably time to look at either how to get more time back or how to hire, so that then when you have bandwidth, when you have a team, when you have people who need clients, then you can learn or invest in marketing. A lot of people want to learn how to do Google ads, but they're fully booked. I'm like, don't spend money on marketing that you can't take advantage of and get a return on investment. So that is just how my brain works as a business coach. When we get these questions in DMs, when I get these questions in my programs, to help someone navigate what is the answer to get them to the result, or what is the better question to get them to the result. And if the result is wanting to make more money, you got to start tracking the data.